Good morning, I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for November 4th, 2024. Well, I've just arrived back in Germany from a 2-week visit to the United States. I'm a little jet lagged, but I have an important update for you, so let me go ahead with it, and hopefully it won't be too difficult for me to finish this. What I can report to you from the United States is that the word that's going out over the media, the term going out, is election anxiety. They're saying that it's peaking with people upset, worried, nervous. Who's going to win? Is there an alternative? What's going to happen with the United States? Now, the media is saying that this is something that many people suffer. In fact, one network has even been reporting on polls showing the ups and downs of election anxiety. Now, part of this is the anxiety is stoked by the media and its reporting. The fact is there are two wars going on now. One, a genocide being committed by Israel with complicity of the United States. The other is a losing effort to destroy Russia, which is actually destroying the population of Ukraine and cannot succeed. Now, in the face of this, you also have a continuing economic crisis that's threatening the Western world. But there's very little serious debate on this. There are platitudes on the economy. They're ignoring the BRICS and the actual moves going on around the world to address the crisis. So the media role is to block debate, to use censorship and lies. Now, you can see the panic, though, when you read something like the weekly inflection points column by Frederick Kempe of the Atlantic Council. I'm just going to give you a sense of it. It's headlined, "The U.S. is electing a wartime president." And he says that Putin and Xi are the challengers. And he said they see a, quote, window of opportunity in the U.S. due to domestic distraction, a defense sector not yet adequate for the emerging challenge, and an electorate that questions the value and necessity of U.S. international involvement. And he goes back to say that it's similar to 1940, when Franklin Roosevelt and Willkie were more internationalists than isolationists. Then he cites a George Will column. And Will wrote that there's no reassuring choice for president who will determine the nation's conduct during World War III, which has already begun, Will writes. And Will goes on to say that both candidates are showing reckless disregard and they're failing to address this gathering storm. Now, that's pretty sharp language from Will, but it's absolutely true. There's no competent discussion of what to do to end the war. Now, meanwhile, you have Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, blasting the Anglo-Saxons for the war, saying they're gathering most of Europe to join a suicidal attack on Russia. And there are warnings that NATO may actually be brought into direct conflict with Russia. Now, meanwhile, look at the economy, and just a couple notes from Germany. Insolvencies in business-related services are up 31% in the current quarter compared to the third quarter of 2023. Insolvencies in real estate and housing are up 69%. And this is largely due to high energy costs and the regulations for the so-called green transition. Now, while this is going on, who's talking about it in the U.S.? There's a debate over whether Biden has tamed inflation. Would Trump cause more inflation with tariffs and so on? It's incompetent. It doesn't address the real issue. Now, meanwhile, there are attempts to address that with the BRICS nations. And the BRICS are basically saying that they will defend their countries against the weaponization of the dollar. And they're going to prioritize industry and trade above usury. Now, this is significant because the economic cooperation programs being presented, the larger term projects, do represent a capability to rebuild economies that have been looted, whether in the global south or in the global north. And we're seeing anti-European Union, anti-NATO policies coming from some of the Eastern European countries, while the smaller ones, like the Baltic countries, are pushing for war. And you have Hungary's Orban pushing an independent policy from the EU. You have Slovakia, where Fico, the prime minister, is orienting more and more toward Russia and the BRICS, and as is Serbia. Now, on the war in Ukraine, let me quote to you what the London Economist says. And the Economist, remember, is the publication that was started by the Rothschilds in the middle of the 19th century. And what they're complaining about the fact that the West is not prepared, is not war ready, as the German defense minister says. So they say, quote, Russia cannot fight forever. But the worry among American, European, and Ukrainian officials is that Ukraine's breaking point will come first, unquote. Well, that kind of acknowledgement should lead to what? Negotiations. Let's end the war. End the war and get the best possible terms which guarantee security for Russia and Ukraine. But that's not on their agenda. Instead, I'll take you back to what Frederick Kempe said, the president or the CEO of the Atlantic Council. He warned the establishment, the electorate is rebelling against the effects of globalization. And what we're seeing is that rebellion. Now, how do you address that? Well, it's true, there is an opportunity for the West to end the distortions that come from trying to defend a unipolar order. The United States has hundreds of bases, military bases around the world, a nearly $1 trillion annual defense budget. It's got interest payments that are eating up about more than 25% to 33% of the annual budget of the United States. That is, the tax dollars that come in go out to pay old debt, interest on the debt. So we have a broken system. That's what has to be discussed, and that's what the LaRouche movement has been doing in the tradition of Lyndon LaRouche going back to the late 1960s. So the opportunity is not for war, but to end war. The opportunity is not for new forms of financialization and speculation to put money in the pockets of the bankers, but for cooperation for real development of the physical economy. We don't need more venues to loot. We need advances in scientific and technological progress. So stay tuned with us. We're uniquely focused on this. We have a track record. We're at the center of the fight of the anti-war movement to actually make it a sustainable peace movement based on cooperation between nations, typified by what's going on now with the BRICS. So instead of giving up or shrugging your shoulders or giving in to anxiety, now is the time to fight. And now is the time that we can win. So thank you, and stick with us. Share this video, share our material. I have some material for you linked in the description section below. Do not despair. The enemy, that is the establishment, is despairing. We're building.